Hey, Team Generations. I want to talk to you about Bible translations because it actually matters what translation of the Bible you're using. It matters. If you're an English-speaking person, I don't know if you know this, there are over 100 different translations of the Bible in English. They're everywhere. And it matters what translation of the Bible you're using to read the Bible. It matters what translation of the Bible you're using when you're listening to the Bible being read. Maybe you're using an app on your phone or something like that. And so I want to remind you that at Generations Community Church, since day one, I have used the New Living Translation. The New Living Translation. I use it in all of my preaching and teaching at Generations. It's the translation I use when I'm reading the Bible most of the time. And so I want to talk about why I use this particular translation. I grew up in the 1970s, and back then, really, the King James Bible was the only Bible that was used in the churches that I attended or belonged to. And here's the thing. I love Shakespearean English, but I just don't talk that way. When I have thoughts in my head, the thoughts in my head correspond to the way that I talk. And so it matters to me that I can readily understand the Bible and things that the biblical writers are saying. And so that's why I use the New Living Translation. I don't know if you know this, but there's really two schools of thought when it comes to Bible translation. Dynamic equivalency is the notion that when we translate the text, we're going to go thought for thought. Grammatical equivalency is the idea that when we translate the Bible, we're going to go word for word. So in a grammatical equivalency Bible, you'll have, and so David slept with his fathers. But in a dynamic equivalency Bible, you'll have, and so David died and was buried with his ancestors in Jerusalem. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying one's inherently better necessarily than the other, but I happen to believe that the dynamic equivalency approach makes the Bible more readily understandable. And I really want that in my life, and I want that in your life. Okay? So again, if you have an older Bible and you've struggled with Bible reading, or maybe the app you're using it's got an older version, etc., I would encourage you to switch out and use the New Living Translation. If you're looking for a great study Bible, the New Living Translation Illustrated Study Bible is packed with notes and charts and graphs, and it's just beautifully laid out in full color page after page. For those of you that are wanting to make connections with the biblical culture and customs and geography of the Hebrews and Jews and Romans and all of the groups that are recorded in the biblical texts, I can't recommend enough the Cultural Backgrounds Study Bible. Now, it's not going to be available in the New Living Translation. You can get it in the New International Version. But this Bible explains a lot of the culture and customs and background that's kind of behind and informing the stuff that's on the pages of the text. I have been reading in the last couple of years from a couple of what I call different translations that's really made the God's Word kind of come alive to me in a new and fresh way. For the Old Testament, I've been using Robert Adler's The Hebrew Bible. Now, it's big and clunky. It comes in 3 volumes. But let me just read this little passage from Psalm 39. For the lead player for Jeduthun, a David psalm. I thought, let me keep my ways from offending with my tongue. Let me keep a muzzle on my mouth as long as the wicked is before me. It really captures the essence and flow of the Hebrew in that translation. And then in the New Testament, I read the New Testament in the last couple of years using Tom Wright's translation called the Kingdom New Testament. So there's all kinds of tools. And by the way, if you use a smartphone, the Bible app, YouVersion, there's all different kinds of apps, Dwell, that you can get on your phone that will allow you to access the Bible, it's worth paying a little extra to get something like the New Living Translation on there so that you have something that is, again, more readily or easily understandable. So, gang, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Bible translation and why it matters. I don't know about you, but when I come home and when I greet Jenny at the end of the day, I do not say, "Where dost thou cometh, lover of my soul?" What, I just don't use Elizabethan language, as beautiful as it is. And so I know that when you're reading the Bible or hearing the Bible read, you really want to kind of understand it. Again, I cannot recommend enough the New Living Translation. There are a lot of great translations out there. That's just the one we use at Generations Community Church, and why we use it, because God still speaks through the Bible. God still speaks through the Bible.